I don't know what to write here. I don't think I'm supposed to put anything about what I saw, I mean. But I feel like I have to. Never been much for writing things down. I remember things well enough to get by. But that only works so long as you're still here. Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with me, I can tell. No disease eating me up. No wounds, not anymore. And they didn't do nothing too much to me. But I feel like I won't last long. I'm drawn in the dust. Might as well start with my name. First name is John. Last name. I'll let you figure it out if you want. If you're the feds, you can probably figure it out from the details. I lived a good, long life. More than 40 years before this part, I'm going to tell you. I logged up north in the summers for years. Volunteered for Chicago after what happened there. Hard work. Hot, not a lot of water, fires everywhere, but we cleaned it up, turned it off. I worked in Toledo at a foundry, moved out west, and made parts for Ford and Boeing. Factories closed up when the war went quiet, so I moved back to Michigan in a garage, fixing trucks and doing towels. Things are all weird these days, only you know that. You know how the sky looks queer some afternoons, or what you maybe thought was the sun catching a cloud is really just fire in the sky, spreading and spreading, until you hear that buzz. I was in Michigan, up in Michigan 4, when the sky tore open. It was cold, early winter just a couple months ago. I was driving a lady back to the shop to fix up her Dodge I was towing when this green light started to roll and bounce across the sky. It was like a flare-up, really, really high. Only, as it went, it left fire that burned and changed colors, a jagged line of fire. We were up in the hills, but it must have been big because you could see its light on the horizon as it got dark. The lady was real scared. I told her not to worry, but when I got to the garage, I called up Warden Martin. It was busy. Guess everyone else thought the same. Knew what it was from the TV. One of them bleeds, area bleeds, always different, but there was some things always the same. The sound, not a sound, but it hurt in your head, and it hurt the lady more. I told her to lie down in the office while I changed out her battery. Get corrosion on the terminals in winter, and it was bad enough she needed a new one. I could hear her snoring and mumbling in her sleep, so I put on the radio. Tuned out the bulletins and put on some music, but that got interrupted by the Army. Helicopters and trucks came in, then everything got real deep. That sound I almost forgot, like someone was tuning it. The radio went out completely. I turned on the TV, but it was just waves and waves, weird voices in some other language. I fixed the lady's car and sent her home, but I didn't go home that night. I had an old camper up on Red Ridge, but it faced the valley where the Army went, and I knew I didn't want to see it that night. The next morning, Mel woke me up on the couch. He said we should pray, so we did, and then he gave me some coffee and bread. He said to eat it, and then he was going to drive us out up Route 20 to where we could see what was going on. It was morning. Still early for winter, and the sky was the color of a bruise lit on one end. The clouds looked carved out of wood. Mel said his wife left in the night. Said she had to go. I told him it'd be fine. He was mad. We got up there, and I can't rightly say what we saw. Mel threw up all over his truck seat. I got out and fell down on the road. I remember it was. There ain't nothing else like it except I thought later about how a water beetle might feel, how he might go around and around on a lake, never realizing about the water underneath his feet. But there was so much more than just the top of the lake, if only he'd look. Well, I looked, and the lake is deep and strange and can't be put easy into words. It was spilling out into the Yama Valley down there, slow as tar and big as a big ship. The Army trucks, I don't know how they could park up so close to it, even in the hoplite suits and the gas masks. I do remember what I saw on the ground there. It was one of them. Gray, white, and naked, shaped a little like a man, but not so much as you would mistake him. A lot taller than any man I'd seen. Tall enough to put his hand on the roof of a tractor trailer without stretching. No hair or wings like imagined. It had a face that was turned towards me, only there was just a mouth, and on top of it, all these rows of slits about the length of my ink pen. The soldiers was trying to put some kind of green tarp over it while it was laying there on the ground. There was liquid all around it, black as new asphalt. I thought maybe it was dead. And then all those slits opened up and I saw they were eyes. They were all looking at me from all that ways off. And I heard this tone, and that was when Mel started throwing up his coffee, and I fell on the road. And I knew as sure as I know my name, that somehow that thing came out of that fire in the sky. We could see the Army trucks coming for us from miles away, up that road and up Route 20 all the way to Red Ridge. I tried to climb back into the truck, but that sound hurt so bad and made me dizzy. Mel tried to start the engine, but it wouldn't turn over. Time got all slippery. The trucks coming towards us, moving like slides, were changing. Closer, closer, closer. Then the soldiers were in around us. Two of them big metal machines, the hoplites, with the guns and the iron masks they weld on to scare the unfolders and their sympathizers. I'd never seen one up close, even though I made gaskets for the Ford Mark 19. Most of them were in those spacesuits with the gas masks. They were real gentle. Not that we could put up a fight. Took Mel's keys and got him out of the truck. Put us both in the back of one of theirs. After that, my memory is a little bit like the slideshow. Little bits and pieces are still there, but there's no movement. Everything is just frozen and disconnected. And there ain't no one to tell me why I remember what I remember. The first thing I remember is being naked with a whole lot of people in a tent and some soldiers laughing at us. I remember not much later being dressed by some more soldiers. There were a lot of people all around. I remember I wanted to work. The next thing after that is holding a shovel. I remember that. And concrete, always pouring concrete. There was a word, sarcophagus, I guess like the old pharaohs used to be in, only this was different. It was pylons made of concrete with all sort of big metal antenna and great wires securing it. There were a bunch of them. They were closing it up with broadcasts, I guess. I remember laying on the ground cold, underneath the stars. Thousands of people all around me. Some were sick with burns and sores and losing their hair. I could taste blood and my teeth were loose. I know what that was. That was radiation. There was also some other part of that. Something worse. That thing, still there, walking among us, taking the sick ones, taking them, and they never came back. My last memory of that time was feeling very weak. The radiation had got to me good, and I was very sick. It was dark, and I was leaning against my shovel, and I looked up, and above the horrible light of the bleed, I could just see the moon. And then I was down, and we were all resting. And then that thing came. It looked at me with all its eyes, and it reached out and touched me with a finger that was very soft and damp, like cooked meat. It looked at me, and I knew that it was tasting me, and I was so afraid. I messed in my pants, but I couldn't move no matter how much I wanted to get up and run. Then it moved on. I guess I wasn't sick enough yet, not quite. And it took that lady whose battery I changed, because the women were always sicker. And she was smiling, and I swear I could not look away as it opened up and took her apart, and she was just a foamy pink liquid, like soup, like poor old Mel's puke in his truck. There was nothing left of her. I swear to God Almighty that I saw it kill her. And then they came, and it died. God help me, it died, and I woke up as it died. And those of us left next to that big sarcophagus all woke up, and the tone went quiet. We cried and fell in each other's arms as the army men died, and the hoplites burned, and people screamed. But not us. We just held each other and watched, with our faces running over with tears like we were little babies. It was dead. They took us in their trucks up north. I remember how cold it was that day. Most of them were men, just like you and me, but there were some of them who were different, and I think I know for sure they were unfolders. They looked like men, but out of the corner of your eye you knew they weren't right. I can't say I liked them or felt good about them, but they didn't do me no harm. They saved us, those of us that weren't too sick. "We are okay," one of them said to me, and I smiled, but when he walked away I turned my head and I saw something. Something, I won't say what it was because it scares me even now. Even now. When we felt better, they asked us if we wanted to fight. Some did. Most just wanted to stay up north. I had family in Dakota. 8. A sister. I figured I could go back there. Just live with them. They talked quietly, and then said I could go. A man drove me back to the border, a different place where they knew a tunnel under the wall. "They'll kill you," he told me. "I knew that already. I know they'll kill me for sure after this. That's okay. I had to write it down. I knew that was what I had left to do." Mom, Dad, God, I love you. I hope you're watching me. I hope you know I'm doing good. Trying to do good, I say. I've done things I ain't proud of, but I done some I am. This is one of them. I hope I see you soon. Reba, if you read this, it wasn't you. Thank you for sharing your house with a beat-up old welder like me. It wasn't you or nothing you done or nothing you said. I love you. I love you, and I always will. Forget about me. Just keep moving in the other direction and be happy. I'm sorry about the mess.